The way I look at nature is as God's creation. So the way to properly study God is to study His works. To me, this is studying God. And the preachers can wave and thump and roll and holler all they want to, but basically God is seen through His works right here. If you want to study God, study what's around you in the world that He put here.
I consider him a genius. I really do. I mean, he's eccentric as hell, but he's a genius.
Kent has a handle on these parts, the nature of these parts, the history of these parts, that is beyond belief. He cannot be replaced by any one individual.
I think he knows probably more about the Ozarks and the biology of this area than anybody.
There's nothing else like it. You know, the Buffalo River country. And that's the area that Kent has spent as much of the time as he could living in that section of the Ozarks and crisscrossing it and looking for the rare and endangered and unusual settings.
He follows his nature, and his nature, to a large extent, is nature itself.
I look for diversity on the landscape, so I'll move from plants to insects to fish to birds to, or back to insects or whatever, but I'll keep moving around, trying to work on different aspects of the biota out here. And there's enough of it that I'm nowhere near through with it yet. I'm a naturalist, and natural takes in a lot. A lot of earlier naturalists were generalists too, and a lot of them used kind of a shotgun approach to nature like I'm doing.
What I think Kent has done is brought it to a higher level than just natural history. Being able to relate it to ecological theory, relate it to a landscape level certainly is something that many people are just not capable of doing.
Well, it all fits together, and as a naturalist or an interpreter, you have to be able to see the connections and the meaning to a lot of things beyond just trivial facts like names and statistics.
It's more than just knowing every plant and every animal, because people can learn that from books and identify them. But he goes beyond that and understands the dynamics and the relationships between them. And he can look at a place and understand what was probably here before and could take a very intelligent guess as what's going to be here in the future. Because he just understands the whole forest entirely and the dynamics over time and in the relationships between everything out there. And that's something I think is truly rare.
The way to understand something is, to first be able to describe and identify it. That's rain crow. And so I just I like to study the natural world. It doesn't bore me at all. I'm not trying to figure out how I can save up money for video games. To me, it's an ongoing challenge. Every day there's something new that I've just overlooked up till then.
To me, I mean, he's just, you know, the Thoreau of our age.
Good hound dog. You know what that means. Come on. Good hound dog. There we go. Okay, you guys know when to come. Right when you're ready to get fed. Well, yeah, we ain't feeding you no photographers tonight. Calm down.
Kent grew up in the woods. He grew up in on his grandfather's farm in the Missouri Ozarks. While his brother was off playing basketball and hanging out at the Air Force Base, Kent was sitting around the campfire with a bunch of 80-year-old men listening to the dogs run all night.
Kent grew up with a lot of old-timers. His grandfather and that whole generation didn't hang out a whole lot with people his age or even the generation before. And his grandfather would go coon hunting and had a whole pack of dogs. That's why Kent's got so many dogs, partly. And he would spend a lot of time out in the woods, a lot of time sitting around the campfire with the old-timers. He's got a whole different way of being there from being around those guys. For them, it wasn't any big deal to spend all day out in the woods chasing something down. And that's what Kent does today whenever he can.
Hang on. Oh, you're my buddy. Don't worry, I feed my buddies, you know that. Sooner or later.
He's a character, you know. He's real focused in his purpose. He's real focused in his way of being, very deliberate. He's a deliberate mess.
Hound dogs, come on, hound dogs. Let's go. Out you go. Come on, hound dogs. Hound dogs. Get out there. Go. I know it's wet. You can handle it. Hound dogs. Okay. There's those four.
Every one of us at one point in our humanity lived close to the land. And for Kent, he experienced that through his grandfather's generation.
I grew up hunting with a bunch of old timers that, you know, I mean, hunting was semi-religion for, and it was God's creation you were looking at. So it was like church to us. But there aren't that many people around that look at it that way anymore. And like Aldo Leopold said, hunting is a good measure of a person's personal ethics because essentially you don't have anybody looking over your shoulder. God's there, but he only counts as you rating. So essentially you don't have to worry about humanity keeping track of you. You know, it's something that you have to make ethical decisions on your own. I'm looking at hunting as seeking out, and I plan to always hunt. I mean, I hunt different things different ways. I don't kill a lot anymore. There it is. Okay. Hunting implies looking for, and not necessarily killing. I've hunted a lot of things. I hunt arrowheads, I hunt endangered species, I hunt plants, I hunt insects, I hunt animals, I hunt open spaces. But I'm hunting something my entire life. It's just a lifetime vocation, and you know, I think the world needs a few of us, even if it couldn't stand many of us. Okay, now we got the cats. We got that one mama cat a little bit, but she can get some more in here. The kittens are all in there already, so I'll be right back out.
I met Kent about 10 years ago. At the time, Kent was pretty famous for walking around the county. He would go out and walk from place to place with his axe and his tools and visit people around. And he was known as sort of a rough and rugged individualist.
Okay, I'm organized. I like being to some place where I can go out at any given point in time. I can go out here and I can be by myself from a day to a week, And the world goes on just fine without me. Nobody panics and comes looking for me. Everything just continues as was. And I'm not being bothered by, the big picture.
Walking, he's always walking. And he knows every inch of this county.
He knows it more than anybody, and he'll just head straight out across. If he needs to travel 20 miles, he'll just go as the crow flies. He doesn't bother with the highways or with cars.
Anything above horse speed, you kind of lose track of reality. You may be virtual reality, but it's not quite the same. So, I don't know, just the physiological effect of walking, that's how people were meant to function. Rather than sitting scrunched up in, tight space, doing a lot of little quick hand maneuvers, and ripping off as fast as the speed of light. Not exactly a natural situation, but we do it all the time. And just accept it as a fact of life. When we consider we're the first generation of people that's been able to move at faster than horseback speed, it's kind of hard to figure what the total effects are going to be.
Ken operates on a different time. Most of the rest of us have to, get done and go on to something else. Living that lifestyle, you may give up certain things, but you also gain certain insights, I think.
Mainly do is imitate a screech owl call. And so screech owls are a major predator on most of these small songbirds. And so if they find a screech owl in the middle of what's their usual daytime territory, they try to run it off, as a defensive thing, so it won't be there that night. You can get a good idea of the birds in the area. It's not always a complete count, but usually you'll have a good idea of the species composition. On nesting birds, usually one of the pair will come in and try to harass the predator while the other one stays with the nesters and the young birds. So you won't always get a total of the birds that are there, but you'll get a representation of which species are there. Anyway, there's a white-breasted nuthatch. Still is.
We spend so much time these days going and seeking and going out further and further from our homes to try and find that experience or that new thing. And for Kent, it's really right here. He doesn't need to go very far.
You get as close to it as you can. It's a whole lot simpler to just get out here and be part of it than it is to sit back and go to a library and try to, assimilate it from a distance. But around here, it's an ongoing challenge. About the time you think you're good on plants, try insects for a while. So there's always something to learn here, and that's another part of this landscape. But it's also something that's familiar to me because I've spent my whole life here pretty much, so I know what I'm dealing with.
It's just a walking library. It's a walking encyclopedia. Whenever I get out in the woods with him, I can hardly keep up with him. I'm just sitting there scribbling notes and taking down everything I can get, and I still feel like I've barely scratched the surface.
There's alum root there, another medicinal, and you can grind it up and use it like golden seal to stop bleeding. So it's a pretty potent medicine and a real good one. But the heart regulation on the spice bush is a big medicinal plus for it. But it's a lot of these plants here have medicinal uses.
To the undiscriminating eye, when you go into a hardwood forest, it might look like a lot of green. the more you walk in the woods and the more you watch and look closely, the more it starts to appear as this profound diversity of lots of different things. And it was through Kent that that diversity started to come alive.
Found a bunch of wild coffee here. It's also called horse gin. But it's got these little berries on the undersides of these flower bracts right at the base of the leaf. And those eventually get about the size of your thumbnail and real bright orange. That's when you pick them and dry them for coffee and grind them up. If you can beat the varmints to it. It's very seldom you can actually catch that stuff unless, again, like you surround it with mouse traps and guard it and maybe you can get them, but that's what it would take.
His greatest gift is the ability to guide people through the wonders of this place and make it at least begin to be comprehensible, understandable, more like home instead of some strange and foreign land. A place of beauty, identifiable beauty.
That's Timothy heading right there. So this is all Timothy right here, going to flower and seed. A good stand of it there.
Every time you go anywhere with Kent, you learn something. Every single time.
This is greenbrier, and I just eat the tips. So you just take this soft part right here, this fresh growth. When it gets down to something that's halfway hard and woody, see, like these last thorns, you can feel them. They're just real rubbery even yet. So really, I could eat it all the way down further, but you know, when the thorns start getting hard, it's too late. But as long as it's fresh like that, it's not bad. And I'll browse on them all spring. Actually all year, but mostly in spring. So.
I
anyway,
guess in
that's what
his
they are.
narrative way, just as a naturalist walking through the woods, he can't help but narrate it, you know. Every now and then you gotta rattle Kent's chain and say, hey man, you know, what is this species here? Shut up, you're rattling about something that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm out here for. What's this plant here?
These blue flowers here are Newton County larkspurs. And they're only found in Newton County and adjacent counties originally. But since then they've discovered them in like about 1 or 2 counties of the Ouachitas. But it's still an endemic for interior highlands, and it was originally discovered up here. Endemic means this is the only place in the world where it grows. And it's only found in the southern Ozarks and Ouachitas.
You know, he really takes after Thoreau, John Muir, Aldo Leopold, all these guys that found a resonance with the natural world in modern times and found a channel for their frustration at what we've lost, and also a way to express to people some smidgen of our past, our ancestral past. It's there for every one of us.
The biggest job on this thing is keeping your pen clean, because it continually clogs up as the ink gets dry. And the ink corrodes the points away to where you're lucky to get a week out of a point. And that's taking very good care of it and being lucky. It's just a job whittling new ones all the time. The best way to learn anything practically is draw it. It's like a real good way to consciously fix your thoughts on something.
Yeah, he draws with a quill pen. How many people draw with a quill pen these days? By candlelight. That in and of itself raises his drawings from mere documentation of technical nature to something that's artistic and beautiful. He's really concerned about what we're losing, what we've already lost, what we don't even know we've lost because it's undocumented.
There are plants here that haven't been seen by anybody since the 1800s that are considered, more or less extinct. But on the other hand, since they were historically here, there's a possibility they can be refound.
He's documenting things that nobody else has documented. He went through and took the whole dichotomous key for the state and illustrated it.
It's an atlas is what it is. It gives the counties that they're known to occur and lists the species scientific name. That's the type print here is all that comes in the book. And so all the information, the keys, the records of occurrences, and the details on the pictures I've added. I'm taking a reference atlas and I'm turning it into a field guide. The thing is in the 1800s, this is relatively standard for anybody that was trying to really, get in depth in any kind of scientific field. Is you literally had to do your own books, create your own keys, and figure out the science as you went. And so it's no more of a challenge to me than it was to people working under a lot more adverse conditions. This is how they start, is as just rough field sketches that I do. You got everything from plants to insects to waterfalls to all kinds of things, either inked or waiting to be inked. First thing, of course I have to do is pencil it, just get a rough sketch of something out there actually in the field and pencil them into a field notebook. The next step is to ink them, and then when I've got an ink drawing, I try to take that into a composite drawing into one of my reference books. This is the plant reference book, and so like this page of oaks, I've done over a period of several years, just putting in information as I find it and as I draw the plants. So I try to get the information to fit the page here. It's all worked into the drawings are worked into the text so that this is like a reference book for me. Then later on, when I do drawings like these Xerox copies of the drawings I did for the state of Missouri, Missouri was doing an oak key, and so I've done various species of oaks, white oak, post oak, bur oak, and so forth. And I'm using my original reference material and combining them into finished drawings.
If you really sit and stare at one of his drawings, it'll come alive to you. It'll jump off the page for you. There's a life force there that I think he's really captured in his drawings.
No matter how long he looks at it, or anyone looks at it, it's going to be changing all the time. And that is a challenge, to see what's tomorrow's sunrise going to bring.
Learning's a lifetime pursuit, and anytime you think you're smart, you're in trouble.
Kent really has done what he could to appreciate and spread his appreciation for the Ozarks in a way that has been real educational for a lot of people.
If somebody's genuinely interested in this kind of stuff and all, I don't mind dealing with them. And, that's usually when I feel like I'm accomplishing something and passing it on, like you said.
He's really been an inspiration to all of us through the years, and his dedication to the forest. I mean that. I don't think it's an ego drive. It must be a love that's driven Kent to spend so many years of his life basically just trying to inventory what's out there and appreciate it and share that. Like I say, I guess he realized he can't do it all, so he has to teach some people along the way.
He's trying to bring out what he believes to be truths and have people look at things maybe a little more closely than what they may have.
I think most people have got some sense of reverence, and most people also have to have some degree of pragmatism and self-interest in order to survive. And it's how you strike a balance on that conflict that each individual has to find for themselves.
He's got a real good grasp on our place in time and how fragile it is and where we're headed if we continue on the paths we've chosen.
I can't see how God could be, the God that created all this could be happy with the way we're taking care of it. It's like, little kids don't get away with going into church and pulling out their pocket knives and whittling in the pew in front of them either. There'd be a deacon out there putting the fear of God into them.
He's not asking a whole lot. And it's similar to what Thoreau spoke of, that we shouldn't ask more from the land than it has to offer, and it has to offer so much. And yet, we're always asking more than it wants to give and more than it should give.
If you're concerned about the world around you, and you got a conscience, it's pretty hard to just, let things pass on an ongoing basis.
It's his genius. I mean, his particular genius. Even though he doesn't get paid for it, he doesn't make his way with it, it's that genius that he has and the love of place that has made it work for him.
It's kind of our responsibility for being part of the natural world to at least take care of it. But a lot of people don't see it that way, and to me it's like sacrilege on the world that these people are insisting on taking down the natural creation. But there again, vengeance is the Lord's and not mine, so I have to put up with a lot.
It's my belief that Kent has lived enough by his principles that it is of no real consequence in the long run to him whether he is glorified for his abilities or fades quietly because of a lack of appreciation of his time.
Those seeds of knowledge, those physical seeds of plants, those seeds of truth, if you will, that are common to everyone, if we can carry those into the future, they're going to find fertile ground. And for me, that's what is most important about what Kent knows. It's not about Kent, it's not about who he is, as much as it's about what he's got to share and bring across those generations and pass on, so we don't lose it, so we don't have to recreate it and re-find it. And because we can't recreate it.
I'm pretty much interested in whatever's live out here because, like I said before, I feel like that's God's creation, and it's an understanding I need to come to terms with personally. And it's on my own scale and on my own schedule, and God's the only judge, so I don't have to answer to anybody else. God's me. If I can live with it, I can hope that God will. And the rest of the world, if they're interested, that's great. If they're not, it doesn't bother me a whole lot either.